Hello and greetings from Iceland. In this Volcano update I will be covering the latest information from our experts. One of our fine professors was just asking for a level of emergency to be declared by the Svartsengi power plant and the Blue Lagoon. And then I have new thermal footage and other drone footage and drive-around footage while I talk about the situation in Grindavík and the people there and what they feel about all this. And I'm ending this by the Blue Lagoon. And let's start this with a few facts like land rise is still ongoing due to the magma inflow that is estimated to be 4 times more than before the 3 previous eruptions on the peninsula. The land rise and the deformation lines are extremely steep, and while the GPS numbers look like this is not coming to an end, and the things remain tense, extremely tense. This is the earthquake map that I've been using the most lately. I'm leaving a link to it since this map has this wonderful feature that we can even look at the last 10 minutes or the last hour. It's a good way to see how the earthquakes move around, but the official map doesn't have this completely raw data available, and it takes time to overlook them manually since it's 20,000 of them already, and the earthquakes were actually shaking the Eldvörp craters for a while. Then they took off to the Blue Lagoon again, then up to the mountain Sýlingafell, and yesterday they found a new location by this mountain pass between the village Grindavík and the Blue Lagoon. And I actually took off to Grindavík yesterday, early morning, before the sun would warm up the ground, but the weather was miserable when I arrived. So I had only one go for the thermal drone, just after the rain stopped and before the sun came up and messed things up. The fumaroles that I have been looking at before, they look the same. Hotspot that is 500 meters away from the Blue Lagoon. It is hotter than I thought at first, so at least I got a reliable comparison thermal image from this trip. I would have liked to spend a little more time there, but at least I can say that I have quite many video tours now on stock, weeks worth of data, and that might be worth something someday. And after this I wandered around town, shooting photos and video clips. This underlying risk is all over the media, every day of course. How many earthquakes each hour, average depth, what to expect, and where. But no one knows for sure. In fact, we are getting different answers. Some experts say it's safe to be there. So today, I was listening to an interview with Professor Ármann Höskuldsson, and I've never listened to so openly frustrated expert during this whole scenario from 2020. And Mr. Höskuldsson is actually very careful when it comes to statements. He is saying now that a level of emergency should be declared now, and we should start building those gravel barriers around the town and the power plant now. And when I use more or less his own words, he is saying that what is the point of waiting for an eruption that most likely will start many times more powerful than the previous eruptions. He expects 150 cubic meters per second or even more at the beginning, and to go and make some phone calls to get some trucks and bulldozers after this has started is as stupid as things can get. And he described this as fear to take decisions and information chaos. So this professor has always struck me as a careful person, and this is saying that the scientists in earth science have perhaps the hardest decisions to make ever. It's so much at stake, or somewhere around 5,000 people when we include the Blue Lagoon, the power plant, or as the professor said, those barriers are so little deal against the billions that we face to lose. It was indeed a strange feeling that I had while driving around town yesterday. I even took a little detour down memory lane, since I came to this town many times as a young man to work in fish industry, so I know my ways around town and I have many good memories from here. So I was curious about the mood there, and after asking a few questions I found it to be miserable, sadly, and I understand it very well. There are people and families who have left the town already, but I want to make it clear that we are not talking about large numbers. I was reading about this lady today that lives in a caravan in Reykjavik. She's from Grindavík, saying that she lived on second floor, making things even worse when it comes to earthquakes. And it is this almost constant shaking that keeps people awake. Most of them are not large earthquakes, but enough to make them nervous. So people are thinking, how long will this one take? Has it just started, or will it get worse? Could it be the big one like in 2021? Or could it be the one that opens the earth's crust and the fire comes up? And where? And if so, how fast will the eruption take off? What should I take with me if I evacuate my home? When can I come back? Will my house be there? Will my town be there? And if so, will a power plant be there to keep the town warm? And if not, will the diesel generators that were just placed in town as a backup handle to heat up the houses? And the answer to that is no. But every single day with this powerful magma flow into this lava sill forming there, it increases the probability of a major event. And let's say that we lose the power station and this turns out to be a cold winter. We will be looking at thousands of houses with major damage, not just in the village Grindavík. And when the hot water pipelines freeze, that is huge damage plus other property damage in the houses. So 30,000 people could be affected if the power plant goes down. And there's still no barriers to protect. I could feel some frustrations toward the media in Grindavík yesterday, or misleading information, perhaps too many scientists with too many versions, uncertain and complicated for most people. So I heard that they were putting their trust on the meteorological office and the civil defense in order to keep things as simple as possible. And we have to bear in mind that this town has volcano disaster monuments all over town. There was this volcanic eruption in 1973 that ruined the whole town in Iceland. The Westman Island disaster that left thousands homeless. The Nordic nations sent us hundreds of houses in a hurry, and they were built in many towns in Iceland, including Grindavík. One of the largest such districts is there, and I'm driving through it now. And still today, those houses are called the emergency fund houses. And yesterday, I was filming from the pier that was built back then for the fishing fleet from the Westman Islands. So lots of people from the islands moved to Grindavík and settled there and never returned. So there were some strange thoughts running through my mind yesterday. And one of the questions that hasn't been so much in the news is, what about the groundwater there? And it's plenty of it, else there would be no power plant or Blue Lagoon. The earthquake epicenter is under the reservoir that consists of 3 different aquifer systems, but the deepest boreholes are around 1900 meters deep, and those holes in the ground by the Keflavik hot springs, they are explosion craters. So I am asking myself now, is it a lack of courage that's preventing discussion about how explosive an eruption there could get? I think it's a very good and justifiable question, and the uppermost layer is a thin film of fresh water. It's our drinking water. Or one more thing to worry about, since there are so many eggs in this one basket there, in this depression there in the land, where we also have the Blue Lagoon. And I've been getting the question quite often in the comment section now, why they don't close. And it is no surprise to me. The Minister of Justice just announced that the police commissioner on the Reykjanes Peninsula has the authority to close the Blue Lagoon. And he had actually stated in the media earlier that he would not be going there, but he's not going to close the place. So this is a hot potato that could turn extremely expensive. And the Blue Lagoon remains open. However, 2 bus companies have cancelled all Blue Lagoon trips, and the power plant next door to the Blue Lagoon is operating with minimal workforce, and it can be controlled remotely for some time. But the manager at the Blue Lagoon has been saying all along that while there are no signals of magma getting closer to the surface, they will remain open. We have 4 times the magma inflow since than before the last 3 previous eruptions. And this magma is pumping into a sill that stretches just about under the Blue Lagoon, so at least we can say for sure that it has never been as exciting to bathe there. And in my opinion, the risk isn't worth it, and every hour we are hearing something new. And I want also to say welcome to my new subscribers, and keep in mind that this channel offers way more than natural disasters. And finally, thank you from the bottom of my heart for the support that I've been getting. It means a lot to me since I'm covering this almost 500 kilometers away from home, and I won't be home soon, as things look now. And with that, I'm sending you best regards from the volcano island, Iceland.